I love this movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. We're gonna talk about it. So Raiders of the Lost Ark. The movie starts with the famous scene where he goes, he puts remember the sand in the bag? He puts the sand in the bag and he replaces the thing. And that's where we get the scene with the rock rolling. And it's very famous and it's great because it's a wonderful introduction to who Indiana Jones is. He's the hat. Remember, he drops the hat and he reaches under the door and grabs the hat. So then we meet Belloc. And Belloc is like, there's nothing from you that you can get that I can't take. And he takes the golden idol and Indiana Jones runs away. And he runs and he gets in the plane and he flies away. And he gets in the plane with a guy who we never hear from the rest of the goddamn series in any of the subsequent sequels. He just gets in the plane with this guy, like, oh, here's his wacky friend. He owns a snake for a pet. And then he just never fucking shows up again. But that doesn't matter because we go back to, he's a professor and the one chick wants to bang him because she writes love me on the eyes. And we find out that the Ark of the Covenant is there in the desert. And the thing about it is that it's Hitler thinks it's the secret to his power. So Indiana Jones he goes to the place. What's the bar? Tibet. He goes to Tibet, and he meets his ex-lover, and she's got the gem that he wears around the neck, and it's got the map to the place where the Ark is, but the guy burns it into his hand, and that's important. So they go there, but then they go to Cairo, where they think the map is, or the Ark is. No, the map and the Ark, they're both in the same place. And what happens? Okay, so there's lots of things that happen there. It's a fucking movie worth of information. But first is, there's a chase scene, and it's great for 1,000 different reasons. The first part that's great is that there's music to it, and it's classic John Williams because you pointed out to me because you said because it goes.
There was no laser blast. Something hit us.
Han, get up here.
And this John Williams music at its goddamn finest. So there's that. And then there's all this chase shenanigans and she hits him in the head with a frying pan. She hits him with a frying pan and she blows up in the explosion, but she doesn't really, but we don't know that yet. Indy is looking for her in all the baskets, but the monkey's a Nazi and he sells her out. So Indy's looking and he's knocking over all these baskets and all of a sudden this dude comes out with a sword, which gives us the greatest scene in motion picture history. And then, so at the end of that scene, Harrison Ford gets drunk in a bar and Belloc comes up and Harrison Ford's like, I'm gonna kill you. And he's like, look at all these troops I got. And then all these kids come up and make a child shield in front of him. And he's like, next time the kids won't be around to save you. And then that's never addressed again. So they go into the pit where the laser beam makes a map. And he's like, I found the Ark of the Covenant. And they go and they dig up the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, also the girl's alive the whole time. Karen Allen. What's her name? So they go into the pit where the Ark of the Covenant is. And there's snakes in there. And he doesn't like snakes. That was set up by his friend who's never addressed for the rest of the series. And also Belloc is a drunk because his family owns a winery. That's important. Never, actually. He goes into the pit and they steal the Ark of the Covenant, and the Foley effect was a toilet seat cover. And they lift the Ark, they throw Karen Allen, who's still alive, in the pit. And for some reason, despite the fact that the pit's underground, they managed to push a rock out of the way and escape through the side of the cave. But we're underground. We've established they're underground by a long height, but they push the rock out of the side and they go out. And then we have an amazing scene. When I was a child, my dad says, Alex, you are a man now. Come watch this scene. And I get to watch a Nazi get chopped up by an airplane propeller, which in my opinion supersedes puberty as the point at which you become a man. So we get this awesome scene where Alan's character is in the cockpit of the plane and there's the gas leak. And that's great. And he's punching the Nazi, and the Nazi's like this big fucking strong guy. And he doesn't give no fucks. Like, he's just doesn't give a shit. And he's punching him and he's punching him. He throws sand in his eye, I think. Maybe that's the wrong movie. I need a drink. And then he's punching him, and then Indy does this thing, because he hides, because he sees the propeller coming. And the Nazi gets chopped up propeller and blood goes everywhere. It goes on the cockpit. It probably goes on the floor, but we don't see it because it's, at that point it's moot. He's chopped up by a propeller. He's chopped up by Nazis deserve to get chopped up by propellers, right? Am I right? So he gets chopped up propeller, and he dies. Good for him. And then there's this wonderful moment where Belloc is like in this hut and he's like getting fanned by like these exotic women. And he's like, they're like, Indiana Jones. And then the oil tower blows up and it's just a fucking wonderful comedic moment. Then we get the scene where they take their horsebacks. And he's on the horseback and then he jumps onto the truck. And all these Nazis, they get thrown off cliffs. They get shot in the body. They get hit by a car. And then it's great. And then Indy steals the Ark back and they hide behind a fruit stand. And then they go on a submarine. What happens next? They bang and she hits him with a mirror. And she touches his wounds and he hurts more than the battle. And then he hides in the foghorn and they go to the island. And it's the same island where Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker and the Sand People and the droids are. And they go there. And Belloc, for some reason, puts on a turban. I'm not really sure why. And then the dude with the glasses is there. And they said, let's open the Ark of the Covenant, then we're gonna videotape it. Nazis are bad. And so their faces all melt, and it's fucking amazing. It's a beautiful moment of cinematic history. So I'm about to say some bad things about Raiders. And I love Raiders, okay? I have a goddamn poster. Where's the Raiders poster? It's right there. Oh, shit. Okay, so I have my Halloween poster. I have a rotational poster, and I have my Halloween posters up because I'm decorating for Halloween. But anyway, I love Raiders. But as much as I love Raiders, I have to admit, there's a little bit of fat on this movie that needs to be trimmed. And why I ultimately say the third movie is actually the best movie because it has no fat. This movie has a little bit of fat. Particularly in the fact that, for example, that scene that I mentioned before with the swordsman that he shoots in the heart. He shoots him in the heart, and that whole scene is a lot of fun, and it's great. And Karen Allen lazily hits him with a frying pan, and it's not that you can tell she didn't think she was the focus of the shot. But it comes out of nowhere, and it doesn't really have a payoff. Like, we needed an action beat at this point in time. Let's put the action beat in, but then they kind of don't address it again. But, okay, so Indiana Jones was inspired half by James Bond and half by cereals. And I didn't know what that meant when I was a kid. I thought, like, this is a cereal, like it was food. So James Bond is like a cool guy. He's got his plan made. He knows what he's doing. He's got fucking, what's the name of the guy that makes the weapon? Is it Q?
Q.
Oh, it's Q. I got confused because Q is also a guy in Star Trek. James Bond has a Q who makes him weapons. So James Bond is a cool dude. He's got all the tools for the trade, and he shows up and he's like, fuck man, I'm James Bond. He's got a plan. His plan goes into action. Indiana Jones is a fuck up, and that's why I love him. Like, how many times has James Bond fucked up so badly? What's the thing called in the front of the car?
A hood ornament.
Hood ornament. How many times has James Bond fucked up so badly he's holding onto the hood ornament for dear life? None, probably. I haven't seen all the movies because a lot of them are shit. But like, my favorite thing about Indy, here's what he should have done. Indy should have went into that little, the Well of Souls, which is a weird name for a map. He goes into the Well of Souls and the little laser shoots out and he goes, he points out where the Ark is. Indiana Jones should have gotten the Ark of the Covenant. He should have put it in a box and mailed it directly to Hitler. And he should have enclosed a note that said, "Hi Hitler, have a Nazi party. Here's a fun party trick. Open this when all your Nazi friends are there." And then, what would have happened if all the Nazis opened the Ark? Their faces would have melted. Indy could have solved the problem by working with Belloc, but instead he fought Belloc, and Belloc died, and they ended up putting the Ark in Area 51 with all the aliens in this shitty sequel that everyone denies its existence. So all the Nazis would have died, and Indiana Jones could have prevented World War II if he had just mailed the Ark of the Covenant to fucking Hitler. But you know what? He tried his best. He didn't know that he should just mail the Ark to Hitler. Because realistically, what would you ever mail to Hitler? Nothing, because he's a fucking douchebag. This one has the set pieces that the third one lacks. You got the swordsman shooty scene. You got the Nazi propeller airplane scene, which is so good because you got that tension with the gas leak. You got the truck horse scene. But the third one has some tighter storytelling that's a little bit better. So I think I need to wrap up this video. I don't know how, because this is the first episode of this show that's ever existed. So subscribe and like and comment. What are the other possible things you can do? It's just those three, right?
Retweet, like, I don't know.
Oh, you could retweet this. Retweet it and like it and subscribe it and Facebook it and shit. And that's the end of the video, probably. I don't know. Fuck it. Goodbye.